way this works is I want to introduce you to something called cognitive behavioral theory. The way we think impacts our behavior. Cognitive is that cognition, your ability to understand things, your ability to think in a certain way. Behavioral is what we do, is our being. Our behavior is our being. All of our actions creates our being, right? So here we go. We've got our thoughts. Everything that we think in our head. And 95% of our brain is subconscious. 95% of our brain is not consciously aware of our thoughts in the moment. We're on autopilot. And we have up to 70,000 thoughts a day. 70,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot of thoughts. And most of them, like I said, are repetitive, and most of them are also negative. Now, all of these thoughts, they're also intermingling and interacting with our feelings. Yes, they're interacting with our feelings. So the way I feel, sometimes I can't control the way I feel. My feelings arise, but what do I think about my feelings? And depending on how I think about my feelings, either exacerbates that feeling or can help to mitigate that feeling or can help to neutralize that feeling, okay? So we've got those thoughts and feelings going on. And they're constantly exchanging information, And sometimes we can have certain thoughts that then bring on that feeling. And we're wondering, why am I feeling this way? Well, it's because of the way you're thinking. Well, how am I thinking? Okay, well, that's going to require a little bit more digging, a little bit more uncovering from your conscious brain, which is only 5%, which is why we don't tap into that very often. Why am I feeling this way? And a lot of the times we go into the feeling as a result of our behavior. Okay, so our behavior is impacting the way we feel. Our thoughts, however, have the most direct link to our behavior. Our behavior is a direct response to the way we're thinking. And sometimes you might do something, you'd be like, oh, what was I thinking? Or you know what, I wasn't thinking. But the truth is, you're always thinking. You're just not always consciously aware of your thoughts. And so it seems like you weren't thinking, but you were. And so a lot of the times, the things that you do, your behavior, is just totally on autopilot. You're just doing shit. You're not even thinking about it. And then you wonder, why can't I change my behavior? Why can't I just start doing things differently? Why can't I just, stop yelling at my kids? Why can't I just stop being a people pleaser? All of these behaviors that we have. Why do I keep eating a box of cookies every night? Why do I, show up late for work sometimes? Why can't I get my work done? Why am I always getting into arguments with my partner? It's because of the thoughts that are bringing you there, okay? Now, I'll expand on this a little bit more, but what I want to say here from this point is that our behavior then produces results. And one thing that I want to point out about our behavior is that everything that we do is to meet a need. So why am I yelling at my kids? Because I have a need for them to hear me and to respect me and to listen to me. That's why I'm yelling. And that's how I'm going about getting that need met, to be heard, is by yelling. But what is it resulting in? Is it resulting in progress? Am I experiencing progress as a result in my life? Or am I staying stuck? Nothing's changing. It's the same thing over and over. I have this behavior perhaps as a people pleaser. Maybe there's some people pleasers out there. And you have a need. Why do you just abandon your own needs and just take care of everyone else's needs? Because you have a need to be accepted. You have a need to be loved. You have a need to be needed, perhaps. Yeah? And what are the results of that people-pleasing behavior? Is it bringing you progress in life? Are you moving forward and accomplishing your goals? Or is it having you stay stuck? Right? It's like Einstein says, the definition of insanity is when you keep doing the same thing over and over, but expecting a different result. That's the definition of insanity, right? So it's like, I keep doing this. I keep yelling at you. I keep saying the same thing and hoping that you'll understand, because I have this need to be heard and understood. But it just keeps resulting in me being stuck. Okay, so how can I behave differently? Well, I got to start and go up to my thoughts. How am I thinking about the way I'm communicating with people? You know what? Yelling is not accomplishing anything. And I'm not going to be able to get through to this person because they're totally not interested in hearing what I have to say to begin with. So what do I have to do instead? Because in the meantime, this is making me feel very frustrated and very angry. And I have this need to be heard and understood. So this is our responsibility, okay? Our behavior, what we do and what we don't do, is also our responsibility. And in the word responsibility is the word response. How are we responding to people? And the word ability. Did I spell ability wrong? Responsibility. You know what I'm trying to say. The ability to respond instead of irresponsibly reacting. And you get reactions. Sometimes the results are reactions from others. What's the reactions from other people? Are they getting defensive with you? Are they blaming you? Are they getting upset with you? Are they abandoning you? Are they retracting from you? What is the reaction from others as a result of your behavior? Reaction from others. Feelings part here. In the feelings, what about the feeling of shame? Remember, when I'm talking about our feelings that we have, if we're feeling shame or we're feeling guilt or we're feeling anger, what do you think about those feelings? Because the way you think about those feelings is going to depend on what is going to dictate what you end up doing. So if I think, if I have this feeling of guilt and I feel guilty and I think that everything is my fault, then I'm not going to set boundaries. Because what do I think about setting boundaries? I think that setting boundaries is selfish and that it's going to have me losing people in my life. And I don't want to lose people in my life because I have a need for connection. I have a need for people to like me. I have a need for people to stay. Versus our fears. I'm not really tuning into a need. I'm tuning into a fear. And so understanding the difference, is this a need or is this a fear that's dictating my behavior? Okay? And this is your responsibility. This is your responsibility. So if you are setting boundaries, that's your responsibility, but you're not responsible for how other people choose to respond to you. Other people are going to respond to you. What are their reactions? What are the reactions from others? And then what do you think about those reactions from others? Okay? So this then can carry on all the way back up here. The reactions from other people. What do I think about that? Do you think that that's true? That you're disrespectful because you're taking care of your own needs? That you're saying no to things that you used to say yes to all the time? What else do you think about that? And how does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? And then what are you going to end up doing as a result? Right? So if you recognize, hey, how other people behave, how other people think, how other people feel is their responsibility. Is their responsibility. I'm not responsible for other people's thoughts, feelings, or behavior. I'm only responsible for my own. Because at the end of the day, those results I'm responsible for those results. I'm not responsible for the results of other people's behaviors or thoughts or feelings. And I don't want you to get caught in the trap of explaining yourself. You never need to explain yourself to anybody. If people are going to understand you, there will be people who will understand you when you start to put up boundaries. Those are your people. The people that don't understand, those are not your people. When you start to set boundaries for yourself, it is a great opportunity to get information about those people that you're setting boundaries with. And remember, boundaries are not to control other people. Boundaries are not to tell other people what to do. Boundaries are talking about what you are going to do or what you are not going to do. It's not to control others. And that's a really important aspect to keep in mind, because what is in your control? Okay, this is not just responsibility, but it's also what is in your control and what is not. Getting my boyfriend to do his share of chores around the home we share without always getting angry. Aha. So there's an issue of control. You want your boyfriend to do his share of chores. Remember, you're not his parent. A lot of times in relationships, people have a need for control. And why do you have a need for control? Because you fear, oh man, we're going to be living in a messy house. People are going to come over and going to see this place as a disaster. I have a fear that he's going to take advantage of me. I have a need for a clean home. But if I do all the cleaning, then I worry that he's going to just not appreciate me. Whatever it is for you, whatever it is. Okay, I'm just throwing out some examples. May or may not fit with you. So what is that need that you're trying to meet there? By him doing his share of chores. And how are you going to communicate that? Are you going to be able to communicate that in a way that's productive and that you make progress? Or are you going to communicate that in a way that keeps you stuck? And what's his reaction? Okay, and then how is his reaction to your request? And that goes back up to your thoughts about his reaction. But I want to make it very clear, we can't control what other people's behavior is. And it's like picking your battles, right? You don't want to get in a relationship with somebody and be their mother. No, do not be their mother. I'm going to put up some emotions on this board that some of you may be experiencing. I think I'm going to put them on this side. So let me just move this thing over a little bit. Okay. We've got shame, guilt. We've got anger. And we've got this thing called attachment. Okay? So with these feelings, what do you think about shame? Well, I'll tell you that shame is something is wrong with you. You're thinking that something is wrong with me, and that's what brings on the feeling of shame. And so to remove shame, to reduce shame, you have to change your thinking. And I can think instead, there's nothing wrong with me. I haven't done anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with my behavior and how I'm acting. I'm being responsible for myself. I'm meeting my own needs. I'm not acting out of fear. Okay, so there's that shame. That shame that something is wrong with me. That's not helpful. And it comes from the way I think about myself. And then there's guilt. And sometimes we do things like setting boundaries that cause us guilt. And that guilt can either be healthy guilt or unhealthy guilt. And healthy guilt allows us to realize the mistakes that we've made. Unhealthy guilt is healthy because it shows us, okay, I was in the wrong and I need to apologize and I need to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But unhealthy guilt is when you haven't done anything wrong. You haven't done anything wrong. You're feeling this guilt and you're thinking, oh man, I was in the wrong. I did something wrong. But maybe you're left being a little bit confused because you're like, I'm not quite sure what I did wrong though. I mean, that person's reaction was horrible. They really lost it on me. So it makes me feel, oh, that reaction, that person lost it on me. Oh no, I think I've done something wrong. I feel guilty. What do I end up doing? Maybe I take back that boundary. Maybe I say, okay, fine. I don't want you to feel bad. I take it back. Yeah. And it just keeps you stuck though. Because you're like, man, but it felt like that was the right thing to do. But that person's reaction really threw me off. That person's reaction really threw me off. And now I don't know. Now my thoughts are like, I've done something wrong and I'm feeling guilty. And now I'm never going to do that again. Now I'm acting out of fear instead of that original need that I was trying to meet for myself, to be responsible for myself. This other emotion of anger. Okay, we all experience anger. It will pop up from time to time. We'll get upset over something. But what do we think about that anger? Do we think that it's not okay to be angry? Don't be angry. Don't be upset. That's not okay. Do we think about our anger that it's somebody else's fault? That person really made me upset. That person needs to apologize to me right now so that I can feel better. If that person doesn't apologize, then I'm going to continue to feel terrible for the rest of my life. Okay, but what is in your control? It's not in your control whether or not someone's going to apologize to you. But what is in your control is how you choose to think about that anger and being responsible for that anger and being responsible for how you choose to respond to it, your behavior. So I can tell myself, okay, you're allowed to feel angry. That makes sense. Okay, let's process that in our head. Let's make sure that we're being responsible for our own feelings so that it doesn't turn out and erupt into a reaction that keeps us stuck. I want to take this anger. I want to process it. I want to take responsibility for my feelings so I can keep progressing. I can keep making progress. I can keep staying productive. And then there's attachment. When we have attachment to people, we have attachment to things. I feel attached to that person. I feel attached to that experience. I feel attached to that memory. I feel attached to my house. I feel attached to my kids. I feel attached to my car. I feel attached to my phone. I feel attached to this food that I need to eat. And we think that attachment is going to make us happy when I have these things. When I have these things, then that's what makes me happy. When I have these people in my life, when people are happy with me, when I have money, when I have nice clothes, when I have this house, that's when I'm happy. But the truth is that these attachments that you have to people and to things, they're not what make you happy. These attachments that you have is what causes you the suffering. It's what causes you suffering, because the thing is that there's so much that's not in your control, but you think you have that control. You think you have control over other people in your life and things in your life. And when they're taken away, when they leave, how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel abandoned? Does that make you feel unworthy? What do you think about that? And then what do you end up doing? You end up acting out of fear because your needs were not aligned.